Okay, so my math is off because I measured from the interior of the curb instead of the where the glass is going to be. So we actually need to add some width to this, which is going to bring the valve even closer to the center of this, but it's going to bring the drain in. Framing. It'll bring the drain this way as well, so we might not have to notch that at all, which is exciting. So let's see, more tape. Old measurement was 31.8 from the stud to the where I thought the inside of the curb would be. Now, close enough, right? Now we're 33 to the edge of the glass. Good enough, right? So 31.8, 33. We're going to add 1 7/8 to the thing. Where's my marker? What's half of 1 7/8? Well, half plus 7/16 is 8/16, so 15/16. So we need to add 15/16. There we go. Add 15/16 to our thing here, to our 15 3/16. So that'll end up being 16 and 2/16 is an eighth. So 16 1/8, not 15 3/16, from the stud to the center line of where we want our stuff. Where did my tape measure go? Here we go. What's that going to be? So look at not that. Oh my gosh! All right, there we go. So 16 1/8, yeah, that's actually dead center on the stud. Looking at it, yeah, it's right where that screw hole is. Actually, is where it lines up. So if that's our new center line, I mean, if I had not realized this and made that mistake, I'm not entirely sure anyone would even notice. But where's that drain? Drain. So I think it's gonna slip to the side where I can. I don't want this stuff to go flying downstairs. Eyeball it centered on that stud. Now we'll still have to notch it a tiny bit, but it's not as bad actually, because the height of the floor we might not need to. So once I have the piping stuff out of the way and there won't be anything in the way of the floor, we can lay down that styrofoam pan, that Kerdi pan, and then just set this in there and see what it touches, because the thin set's going to bring this up a tiny bit, just a tiny bit off of that pan when we level it, and we'll be able to tell if it's going to hit anything. And then this is sized such that the pipe goes inside it, right? So we'll have a little section of 2" that joins these two together with glue. Okay, got the old laser out. This thing is super handy. So I had marked just the line where this would be, and then got it that 8 inches and 1/16 from the other board for the center of the handle. Then you can just kind of like make sure the top and the bottom, the whole thing's centered up and down the wall, nice and plumb. Now I'm going to measure over for the 2x10 and then the 2x4 for the top, so that I can screw those in from the side here, because this pipe will be in the way. Then we'll notch out their spots, slide this thing, which will look like a backwards F, into place, and then toe in this side, and then probably use some adhesive here. I don't want to open up one of those tubes yet. So maybe we'll just dry fit this stuff, knowing where it's going to go. Then we can it'll give us a better way. Yeah, so we'll cut our notches. We'll just set this in place, and we won't actually nail it in yet. So that way, in this part, we can use construction adhesive. And I'll wait to do that until we run some PEX this way and put this floor piece down, because I want to just cover that and laminate those two boards together, get some bracing and stuff up. So we'll get this built today because we don't have a lot of time. Tomorrow we'll have more time, and I can hopefully do the drain before the weekend. And then on the weekend we'll have a day working on the car, and then a day doing drain and floor and wall stuff. So that's the plan. Okay, so something to consider. There's suggestions all over the place that you want one of these rainfall heads I put together to mock it up to be 84 inches, right? So you want it up there quite a ways. It's supposed to feel like rain, right? Well, from the bottom of the stud, I marked 84 inches. And if I, judging by the height of this thing, if there's 84 inches, there's the top of it, right? I kind of want to make sure that if this stuff somehow won't come apart, right? And I have to take everything out at the wall, I want to be able to turn it so that the whole head, right, will clear the ceiling. So I don't want it too high, but I think, so if I look at, if there's 84, we're only about an inch from the top, and that's way high, so that'll clear the ceiling there, which puts it quite a bit lower. How low do you think that is? 70, probably 80-ish. Yeah, tape measure. Do a little more. There's two studs, or there's two pieces, so 3 inches from the top of this to the ceiling, which would put us at 96, right at 8 feet even. Well, yep, 8-foot ceilings, right? So if this needs to be able to clear that at any angle, right there at that 45, so about there, if I need to twist it around, which puts, call it 80, between 86 and 87, 86 and 87, which puts the head height roughly 78. So we want to see what that looks like inside. Okay, so that line right there is 78 inches. And so if I hold this up such that the bottom of it is around 78 inches, I mean, it's above my head, but it's not that far above my head. I don't think it's going to have the effect that you want, because I'm standing on the stud, right? I got a couple inches, then I'm going to go up once this is tiled. And then somebody like my buddy Steve that's over 6 feet, you know, they're going to have it right up against their dome. And not that he'd ever be using my master ball. I'm on second shift. Anyway, I don't think Steve's going to be able to use my shower all that often. But still, what if I go to sell the house one day and the people moving in are 6'6" and they decide, wow, this shower sucks. They don't want to do the work to undo that. Plus, we want it to be like a rainfall. So I think since making it able to spin in a complete circle and not hit the ceiling is kind of out of the cards, it was a nice thought. I think we check out the 84 and see how high up that seems. I want to make sure that this pipe isn't too close to this. Well, we can see right there, it's going to be like 3 inches from the ceiling. So that's how I think that's how we're going to do it. We're just going to get our way up there, and that'll be the day. Let's look at it again. Okay, so for this to be roughly 84 at the face, the pipe needs to be about 2 inches from that top stud, so it'd be like there, right? Nice and high up. I think that's going to work. I think that's going to be really good. So I'm going to go with that. We're just going to go ahead and put that stud right across the top. Well, not stud, but the piece we're going to mount the backing tube thingy. So, well, it can't go all the way to the top. All right, well, we'll make some measurements. We'll get our little board in. But yeah, it's going to be up a lot higher than I had imagined, but I think it's going to be really cool that way. It's going to have the effect that it's supposed to have. It's going to look good. I just want to make sure. I don't think it's going to splash over the glass. How tall is that glass? I mean, it doesn't spray out to the side anyway, but this stuff should be 6 feet. Let me measure it and come back. Okay, so now I marked it on the wall. So here's the top. This is where the top of the glass should be. Glass height is 6 feet plus the 6-inch curb, and then I gave a 1/4 inch for the tile. It'll probably be thicker than 1/4 inch tile because we you know, I don't want to have to put, I've seen people put like backing board on top of this stuff, and I think that's dumb. That's not what you're supposed to do. But we'll get large format tile, right? So I'll have just one piece of tile that goes across the top in one huge section. And then we don't want to drill into the membrane, but I do want to drill into the tile. So I think the idea will be with these strips where they have the little anchors, what you do is you cut your screw and your little insert, plastic insert, to just the thickness of the tile, right? And then before, I'll have the curb in place, wall in place, and probably the wall tile up and do the curb last. That way I can set this, however, I think probably the vertical strip goes down and then this butts up against it. But we can have those in place and drill the tile first, so we don't have to be super careful and not puncture the membrane. We'll mark out our mounting locations, drill through the tile, and then we'll have a maybe like this thick of a screw going down in it. And the idea being that that screw is not anchoring it in, right? It's just keeping it from sliding sideways if somebody leans on it or something. So, but either way, you don't, the less holes in our membrane, the better. So we'll do that all the way up. And then the very top, the very top mount for the glass, that one I'm willing to drill through the membrane and into the stud, because it's so high up, it's not going to get water. And you fill the thing with silicone, and we're going to run a bead across the edge anyway. But those bottom ones, where water can possibly sit, I definitely don't want to be into that membrane. Yeah, so I think this height's going to work. So I have to pick a drain height, not drain height, a control height. Where's that plate? Okay, so kind of the same thing. It's not a bathtub, right? Bathtubs are way down here because you need to be able to reach it while you're, soaking in your own filth. Whereas the shower, you don't. We want it higher up. Now, we don't want it ridiculously high up. We probably, I don't know, belly button height seems good, right? So here's belly button height right there. And then maybe up a little. The other thing to consider is that when this stud's in place, there's going to be that handle. So maybe I'll mark out on the drywall where the handle's going to be, so I can kind of visualize what this will look like compared to it. Okay, so I marked it out. We'll just take a quick look. No, this is fine. So this whole top part's adjustable, slides up and down the bar. And if I center it right between the valve and the head and the glass, it'll end up right about there, because we don't need it mounted low. There's really not a whole lot of use for that. But the idea here being we can still reach the top, but if we have it mounted up high, we could switch. We can adjust this height and use it as a closer up shower head if we see fit. And then the one up here will be so far out that this shouldn't interfere with it at all, plus it's adjustable. So that's where that's going to be. It has its own little pluggy too that we need to take into account. So maybe I'll grab the two of them and then just think about it. Yeah, so we'll have this guy covering the main valve, and then this one for the rope that goes to the wand. And I'm starting to wonder if I don't put it just below it a little bit, right? Well, I can't because the stud will be there. So maybe I put it below the control? I don't know. Let's see. I can locate it anywhere I want. But if this is our center line and there's our handle, I think if it's right next to it, it's going to feel crowded. The other thing was, wherever this 2x10 goes, we're going to do a niche above it and a niche below it. We don't want to do a niche on this wall that's out of the cards because it has to be insulated. So we'll think about what's convenient for that too. I don't want to reach too low to get stuff on the bottom one. So maybe, what I need to do? I need to go into wife mode, which I think she's 5 foot this height. So if I'm reaching for stuff, here's my things. This is kind of where I want the bottom of the niche to be, so it's not too high. which means we want the top of our 2x10 like here. So let's draw that first. So if I'm there's the better way to do it. If I'm John and I'm here showering and I reach for stuff and I reach straight out for stuff on my second shelf, here's a good spot. So we want basically a big hole with a glass shelf in it, and then so we have a small area for like razors and stuff, and then things on top of it. And here I'm reaching for my things. Boom, there they are. That's good. So glass shelf, gap. Now there's going to be floor. There's still floor. So do an inch. We'll call it. Well, I can measure it because I already have it. Okay, so this will all be pretty rough measurement. So this is the height we want for the bottom of that niche. Then we need to come up for the height of the floor, which is 1 1/8 plus whatever tile is there, right? So that'll be the height if it was great for me, but I'm not the only person that has to use it. And we'd rather have it down too much than up too much in the end. So we're gonna go a foot down from there, I think. Yeah, foot down from there. Let me measure that. Okay, so there's 8 inches down and a foot down. A foot down, so this would be the top of the 2x10 that I'm gonna put across and stick the valve to. And at first it looked like a foot down would be too low, but putting this roughly in place, that's exactly what I said earlier. It's it's like belly button height for me. And that's good. You just reach out and operate your valve. That's fine. So then if we take into account that there's going to be an inch of floor, it would actually feel about like this. And to me, that's still fine. So yeah, I think that's what we do. We use that 12-inch mark for the 2x10. It'll go across. We'll end up with a niche here and a little shelf. And then this lower niche will be, it can only come to the bottom of the 2x10. So I should measure that too. Just to double check. Okay, so here's my test fit, 9% battery, so I gotta hurry. That's the biggest shampoo bottle we have. It's just a big old boy from Costco, right? So I took the top, right? This is as high up as it would be. Put the bottle in, so the niche would be down low. You'd have to kind of bend to grab stuff, but if I just reach down and pump the bottle, I'm gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna be able to do that without even bending over. So this is fine. I can bring that bottom up a little bit if I need to. So we're gonna go with this this 12-inch mark. Maybe let's add an inch to it just for funsies. So we'll go up an inch from that mark. Get that board in place, notch them out, and yeah. Okay, so we're marked. Yeah, that has to go, that has to go. And this top one, this is the best ladder in the world, right? Super safe. This one's gonna have nails, right? There's gonna be nails sticking down into that. So that one should really be cut with a Sawzall. I don't want to screw up the drywall. I guess the room's gonna get painted. So worst case, if I do cut through, we just mud it and fix it. But I don't know if my circular saw will circular saw go that deep? Let me check. Because that blade will cut through nails. It'll just sound funny. So, interestingly enough, I didn't hit a nail up there. I wonder if when I cut through, if that thing's just going to fall off because they just glued it on because they're lazy. We'll find out. But this one, I'm pretty sure I hit a drywall screw coming through it because there's no reason for the saw to bind down there. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. I got pretty upset cutting that one. But we'll see. All I got to do is find something to nip this last inch of each cut. I can probably just do that by hand rather than messing with the Sawzall. So I'll go see what kind of weird blades I got downstairs. Okay, gave her the same magnet deal. So we got a magnet there. And if you kind of look at it, it's like it's right there. So I don't know if there's a screw barely in the bottom or barely in the top. So I'm just gonna cut over the Sawzall. Going by hand was stupid. So I just went at an angle till it barely kissed it. So there's a little triangle of wood in the top and the bottom of this. And we're just gonna whack it with a hammer and see what happens. It might pull a screw through the wall and we'll need to fix it, but at this point, who cares? Just remembered, hammers only take one hand. I shouldn't be wailing on this anyway. Yeah, there's that screw. That's annoying. Oh well. So. Yeah. So we can just pull the screws through and everything's fine. So, well, yeah, we'll have to dig that out a bit before we put the piece of wood in. And I got my chisels to take that off. So this will only be held up by drywall screws once that top comes off, which is fine. Once the pieces are in here, glued and nailed in place, it becomes a, well, it's going to do what it needs to do. It's not a load-bearing wall, so get that top one out. Okay, so the pieces that were only attached to the drywall, they didn't have a good time. They just came out. So they're over here. We'll probably send those, I'll pull the screws out of them and we'll trim them so to make sure they fit right, put them right back in place, but we'll move them over so they're out of the way of the faucet stuff. That way I can keep the pipes inside this area. So probably that little standoff, there's gonna be the handle and there's gonna be our plate. We'll probably just put the thing for the hose right over here, right up against the stud. That way we can just run a quick, just a little loop of PEX to the bottom of it. We don't have to drill through this. It'll make it really easy. But at the same time, once everything's in place, when we have the valve actually mounted, then I could even mock mount the bar and look at it. So we'll do it that way. We'll have everything mounted in place, just dry fit, and kind of make sure that we like how it looks before we commit to it. And then, like I said, did I already mention this? However wide the niche is going to be, that's where we'll put those pieces back in place, because it's not load bearing, so we can do whatever we want. Yep, and I got 15 minutes before I gotta leave for work, so I'm gonna rinse off in the shower real quick. I try to sweat at home, then clean up before I go sweat at work, so at least I have a car ride where I don't feel disgusting for one waking hour of the day. Yeah, it's coming along. Just keep grinding away at it. Hopefully this weekend we'll have a solid floor to stand on, and then things will really start moving. Once this drain and this water stuff's done, we're going to be able to bang a lot of things out real quick.